Starting January 2026, if you're driving anywhere in Canada, the rules are about to change in ways that could catch you completely off guard. And if you're not paying attention right now, you might find yourself facing fines, license suspensions, or even worse consequences that you never saw coming. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to help you stay ahead because some of these new driving laws coming to Canada in 2026 are not just minor updates. They're serious changes that will affect how you drive, how police enforce the law, and even how much you might end up paying if you make a mistake. And the scary part, a lot of drivers have no idea these changes are even happening. So whether you're in Toronto, Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, Montreal, or anywhere else across Canada, this video is for you. I'm going to walk you through 10 new driving laws that are rolling out in 2026, explain exactly what they mean in simple terms, and tell you what you need to do to protect yourself and your family, because the last thing you want is to get pulled over one day and realize you broke a law you didn't even know existed. Let's start with something that's already causing a lot of confusion among drivers. You know how right now when you get pulled over, the officer asks for your license, registration, and insurance. Well, in 2026, that process is going to look very different. Police officers across Canada are getting access to a new digital system that lets them instantly pull up your entire driving record, your insurance status, and even whether your vehicle has any outstanding fines or violations. And this isn't just in one province, this is rolling out nationwide. Now, you might be thinking, okay, so what? If I'm a good driver and my insurance is up to date, why should I care? Here's why. This new system means that the moment an officer runs your plate, they already know if you've had violations in other provinces, if you've ever missed a payment on a ticket, or if there's anything flagged on your record. And here's the thing most people don't realize. Even if you forgot about a small ticket from years ago, it could still be sitting there in the system. And when that officer pulls you over in 2026, they're going to see it. So before 2026 hits, do yourself a favor, go online, check your driving record, make sure everything is clean, because if there's something sitting there that you forgot about, now is the time to deal with it. Don't wait until you're sitting on the side of the road trying to explain why you never paid that parking ticket from 3 years ago. Now, let's talk about distracted driving, because this is where things are getting really strict. You already know that using your phone while driving is illegal, but in 2026, the penalties are going up significantly. And it's not just about holding your phone anymore. Even if your phone is mounted on your dashboard and you're just glancing at it for a second, if an officer sees you interacting with it in a way that takes your attention off the road, you can be charged. And here's where it gets tricky. Some provinces are even testing technology that can detect when a driver is using their phone, even if the officer didn't see it happen. Think about that for a second. Imagine getting a ticket in the mail because a camera caught you looking down at your phone at a red light. It sounds futuristic, but it's already being discussed in Ontario and British Columbia. And with distracted driving being one of the leading causes of accidents in Canada, the government is taking this very seriously. So here's my advice. Put your phone away, not on silent, not face down. Put it in the glove box or the back seat. Because even if you think you're being careful, one small mistake could cost you hundreds of dollars in points on your license. And if you're a new driver or you're still on a G2 or equivalent, those points could mean losing your license altogether. Let's move on to something that affects almost every driver in Canada, especially if you live in a city. Parking violations. Now, I know parking tickets might not sound like a big deal, but in 2026, unpaid parking tickets are going to have much bigger consequences. In some provinces, if you have too many unpaid tickets, your vehicle registration could be suspended. That means you won't be able to renew your plates. And if you're caught driving with suspended registration, that's a much bigger fine and potential impoundment of your vehicle. And this isn't just about parking in a no parking zone. This includes things like expired meters, parking too close to a fire hydrant, or even parking in a spot reserved for electric vehicles when you're not driving an EV. A lot of drivers don't take parking tickets seriously because they think, oh, it's just a small fine, I'll pay it later. But if you keep ignoring them, they add up, and in 2026 that pile of tickets could come back to haunt you in a way that actually stops you from driving legally. So go check your account. If you have any outstanding parking tickets, pay them now. Don't let them pile up, because once the new system kicks in, it's going to be a lot harder to ignore them. Now let's talk about something that's going to affect a lot of drivers who are used to driving just a little bit over the speed limit. In 2026, several provinces are rolling out stricter speeding penalties, especially in school zones and construction zones. And I'm not talking about going 20 or 30 over, I'm talking about going even 5 or 10 kilometers over the limit. Here's the reality. A lot of drivers think that if the speed limit is 50, going 55 or 60 is no big deal. And for a long time that was kind of how it worked. Officers would give you a little bit of wiggle room, but in 2026 that wiggle room is shrinking, especially in areas where there are vulnerable people, like kids or construction workers. The fines are going up, and in some cases even going 10 over could mean an automatic ticket if you're caught by a speed camera. And speaking of speed cameras, there are going to be a lot more of them. Ontario, Quebec, Alberta, and British Columbia are all expanding their automated speed enforcement programs. That means more cameras in more places, and those cameras don't give warnings. They just send you a ticket in the mail. And the fines can range anywhere from $100 to several hundred depending on how fast you were going and where you were caught. So if you're someone who tends to drive a little faster than the limit, you need to start paying closer attention, because in 2026 those small mistakes are going to cost you a lot more than they used to. Here's something that not a lot of people are talking about yet, but it's going to be a huge deal. In 2026, there are new laws coming into effect around impaired driving, and they're not just about alcohol anymore. They're about cannabis, prescription drugs, and even over-the-counter medications that can affect your ability to drive. Now you might be thinking, I don't drink and drive, so this doesn't apply to me. But here's the thing. If you take medication for anxiety, for pain, for allergies, or even for sleep, and that medication has a warning label that says it might cause drowsiness or impaired judgment, you could be charged with impaired driving if an officer believes you're not fit to drive. And with cannabis being legal in Canada, a lot of people don't realize that driving after using cannabis is treated the same way as driving after drinking alcohol. The penalties are just as severe, and the testing is getting more advanced. Police officers are now being trained to use oral fluid testing devices that can detect drugs in your system on the spot. So if you get pulled over and the officer suspects you're impaired, they can test you right there on the side of the road. And if you test positive, you're facing criminal charges, license suspension, and a permanent record. So If you're taking any kind of medication, read the label. Talk to your doctor. Make sure you understand how it affects you before you get behind the wheel, because ignorance is not a defense in court. Let's talk about winter driving for a second, because if you live in Canada, you know how brutal the winters can be. And in 2026, some provinces are bringing in new rules around winter tires and vehicle preparation. In Quebec, winter tires are already mandatory, but now other provinces like Ontario and Alberta are starting to look at similar laws, especially in northern regions where the roads can get really dangerous. And here's the part that catches people off guard. It's not just about having winter tires. It's about having the right kind of winter tires with the right tread depth installed at the right time of year. If you get into an accident and the investigation shows that your tires were worn out or not appropriate for the conditions, your insurance might not cover the damage. And if someone gets hurt, you could be held personally liable. So if you're driving in any part of Canada where it snows, make sure your vehicle is properly equipped. Don't wait until the first snowfall to put your winter tires on. Do it early and check your tread depth. If your tires are worn down, replace them, because the cost of new tires is nothing compared to the cost of an accident. Now here's something that's going to affect a lot of young drivers and new immigrants who are still learning the roads. In 2026, there are going to be stricter rules around graduated licensing programs. That means if you're on a G1, G2, or equivalent in other provinces, the restrictions are getting tighter. In some provinces, they're increasing the length of time you have to stay in each stage. In others, they're limiting the number of passengers you can have, especially late at night. And here's why this matters. A lot of young drivers don't realize that breaking the rules of their graduated license doesn't just mean a fine. It can mean starting over from scratch. That means going back to square one, retaking tests, and waiting even longer before you can get your full license. And if you're someone who depends on your car to get to work or school, that can be a huge setback. So if you're still on a graduated license, make sure you know the rules. Don't risk it by driving with too many friends in the car or driving past your curfew. It's not worth it. Let's talk about something that not a lot of people think about until it's too late: vehicle maintenance and safety inspections. In 2026, some provinces are bringing back mandatory vehicle inspections, especially for older vehicles. That means if your car is over a certain age, you might have to get it inspected every year or every 2 years to make sure it's safe to drive. And this isn't just a quick look at your car. This is a full inspection of your brakes, your lights, your steering, your suspension, and your emissions. And if your vehicle doesn't pass, you can't drive it legally until you get it fixed. And depending on what's wrong, those repairs can get expensive. So if you're driving an older car, start taking care of it now. Don't wait until the inspection is mandatory. Get your brakes checked. Make sure your lights are working. Keep up with your oil changes, because the last thing you want is to fail an inspection and then have to scramble to come up with the money for repairs. Here's something that's going to surprise a lot of drivers. In 2026, there are new laws coming into effect around how you interact with emergency vehicles. You already know that you're supposed to move over and slow down when you see an ambulance, fire truck, or police car on the side of the road. But in 2026, the penalties for not doing this are going up significantly. And it's not just about moving over anymore. In some provinces, if you don't slow down enough, or if you pass an emergency vehicle too quickly, you can be charged even if you did move over, and the fines are steep. We're talking several hundred points on your license and in some cases even a court appearance. And here's why this is so important. Every year, emergency workers get injured or killed because drivers don't slow down or move over. It's a serious safety issue. So when you see those flashing lights, slow down, move over if you can, and give them space, because the life you save might be the person who's trying to save someone else. Now let's talk about something that's affecting more and more drivers every year: electric vehicles. In 2026, there are going to be new rules and incentives around EVs, but there are also going to be new restrictions. For example, some cities are starting to introduce low-emission zones where only electric or hybrid vehicles are allowed. If you drive a gas-powered car into one of these zones, you could be fined. And on the flip side, there are new rules around EV charging stations. If you park in an EV charging spot and you're not charging your vehicle, you can be ticketed. And if you're driving an EV and you block a charging station after your car is fully charged, you can be fined for that too. So, if you're thinking about buying an electric vehicle, make sure you understand the rules in your city. And if you're not driving an EV, don't park in those charging spots. They're not just regular parking spaces. And finally, let's talk about something that ties all of this together. In 2026, there's going to be a much stronger connection between your driving record and your insurance rates. Insurance companies are getting access to more data than ever before, and they're using that data to determine how much you pay. If you have tickets, if you've been in accidents, if you've had your license suspended, all of that is going to show up, and it's going to cost you. And here's the part that really stings. Even if you switch insurance companies, that data follows you. It's not like you can just start fresh with a new provider and pretend nothing ever happened. Your record is your record. And in 2026, it's going to be easier than ever for insurance companies to see every mistake you've ever made on the road. So the best thing you can do right now is drive smart, follow the rules, pay your tickets, keep your vehicle maintained, and avoid anything that's going to put a mark on your record, because once it's there, it's hard to get rid of. I know this was a lot of information, but I wanted to make sure you understand what's coming in 2026. These aren't just minor changes. These are serious updates to how driving works in Canada, and they're going to affect every single driver on the road. Whether you're a new driver, an experienced driver, or someone who just moved to Canada, you need to know these rules. And if you want more details, I've left links in the description to official government websites like Canada.ca and the RCMP website, where you can verify everything I just talked about, because I always want you to have access to the official sources so you can stay informed. Which province are you watching from? Let me know in the comments. I'm curious to see where everyone's driving, and if any of these laws are already affecting you. And if this video helped you understand what's changing in 2026, leave a like so I know to keep making content like this. And if you want more clear, simple updates about driving and life in Canada, subscribe to the channel. I'm also preparing a full breakdown on what police can instantly see during a traffic stop in 2026, and you'll see that video right after this on your end screen, because understanding what information is available to officers is just as important as knowing the laws themselves. And here's my final thought for you. The roads are changing, the technology is changing, and the enforcement is getting stricter. But if you stay informed, if you follow the rules, and if you take responsibility for your driving, you're going to be just fine. The drivers who are going to struggle in 2026 are the ones who ignore the warnings, who keep driving the same way they always have, and who assume nothing will ever catch up with them. Don't be that driver. Be the one who's prepared. Be the one who knows the rules. Be the one who drives smart. And what happens if your digital driving record shows something you forgot about?